A pleasant good morning to you.
Love you.
Hey, right. Oh, you almost ready. Look like he now dropping his kid, which is good. So that means we will have his full attention. Man is our father. Anil Roberts is our sportsman. The man, I mean, I like that. I like that. So it had the air to clear with some racial thing he did talk. Look how long I wanted to ask about that. And then to give us update exactly all the nastiness that is going on in the parliament, whether it be in the Senate or in the House. And Ryan Rampersad, I will give you a call because it's only fair. Because it's not fair. I wouldn't want nobody to be on Neil De Silva or Nasser Hussein or anybody within that doing the work, and I know they're doing the work, and then give them the opportunity to be able to clear the air. So, and I know you called me and you're doing your work on behalf of Mr. Brazil, and you'll be able to clear the air for the people of Trinidad and Tobago at the end of the day. Because Ryan Rampersad, you're doing a great job, and it's a good one. Right. A pleasant good morning to you, Anil Roberts.
Good morning, Andy the Pitbull Williams, and good morning to Lennox.
Nice.
And to Trinidad and Tobago, the ground report. Good morning.
Well, we don't need no introduction for you unless Lennox Smith want to pose a question to you before you start with it. So let me ask Lennox Smith, do you want to pose any question to Senator Anil Roberts before he starts? Lennox.
No. I'm raring to hear him in response to those propagandists and those PNM apologists and of course sycophants that knows no boundary. We have seen it, of course. They try to deflect attention away from all the iniquities and talking about Kamla Prasad Bissasa's health and all that. I know that Anil is capable and will, of course, broad base the entire thing and will encompass, of course, even that. So I have no specific questions except I want to hear his response.
Go ahead, Senator Anil Roberts.
What's the question? What I want to hear. I could talk anything, you know.
Now he said he have no specific thing to ask other than to hear you deal with the PNM people that will just come in with stupidness, whether it be race, whether it be Kamala Trito, whether it be she dying, whether it be
all right, no problem. I go do that. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, when you be rest, there's a lot coming out of that. Is it a case of desperation? Is it election is in the air? Is it that Dr. Rowley, in his vain attempt to, of course, address the question of OAS and of course, presented the counter argument that is the truth in the parliament by the temporary senatorial appointment of Carson Charles, the former head of NIDCO. I mean, these are the areas, and of course your own position on the budget itself. I think many of the population may not be privy to your very classical presentation, and therefore it is in that several contexts I thought we would give you the elasticity to begin all of those issues.
Elasticity. Go ahead.
I like elasticity, man. Let me tell you something about this elasticity we're talking about here. Let us be clear. When you're bereft of ideas, when you are unable to be creative, when your cognitive development is stymied, when your managerial skill is non-existent, when you are unable to lead a nation despite having resources to the tune of $500 billion in 8 years, and you have nothing positive to show, what must you do? You must play games, run on emotion, talk race talk, attack Kamala toes, say Kamala have a stroke. The only stroke Kamala have is freestyle. She was swimming recently and she had a very good freestyle stroke. She was looking healthy and she did 20 laps. The incompetence of Rowley and the PNM knows no bounds. Rowley is the worst prime minister bar none in the history of the Caribbean. He has presided over the decimation of every sector in Trinidad and Tobago. I asked the PNM on Facebook, please tell me one, just one creative new idea, concept, policy, position, paper, cabinet note that the PNM has come up with in 8 years. For example, Kamala Prasad, the first thing she did, she created for the first time in history a children's life fund where children who needed life-saving surgery could get up to $1 million to save their life. That was brand new. That was something never seen before. Kamala Prasad created a ministry of justice, never before seen. A ministry of the people in order to impact the lives of people, never before seen. In this ministry of science and tertiary, she and Fazal Karim created the Workforce Resource Center where people with skills, with tailoring and arts and crafts and this sort of bakers at home and people who did the sewing and so on could go and get a piece of paper that shows their qualifications so they could go to the bank and get a loan, buy equipment, enhance themselves. Kamala Prasad, across all ministries, the ministers came up with brand new concepts. Live sport was a brand new concept. Never mind PNM, like to bad talk, anything that has helped black people and about corruption. If it was corruption, it's the public servants. If it was corruption, it's the same people who does vote PNM was in charge of managing and running the program. Because unfortunately, live sport was in all the hotspots community. And by coincidence or design, all of the hotspots communities have been represented by the PNM since 1956, unfettered and unchecked, except a few of them in 1986 for a short period of 5 years. So the PNM has suffered people in this country. Dr. Williams created a cult called the PNM. The PNM has no ideas. They spend your money, they waste your money, and then they have the audacity and the unmitigated gall to tell you, pay more tax for them to waste more. They mismanage Petrotrin. And a man tell them, if I go down, you go down, and we all go down. And Rowley shut it down. There was no advice to shut down the refinery, to shut down Petrotrin. The government had paid $64 million for the Lashley report, the McKinsey report, and the Solomon report. None of these reports said shut down Petrotrin. You have Stuart Small, Pinyang, going in the parliament and trying to suggest that UNC mismanagement led to the shutdown of Petrotrin. It was none other than Malcolm Jones, the client of Stuart Small Pinyang, before he swore on a Bible to be Rowley's Cape-Licking minister. That was Malcolm Jones was the client of Stuart Small Pinyang. Malcolm Jones was what you call an executive chairman. An executive chairman is like a CEO, which means that Malcolm Jones could unilaterally take decisions, unlike other board members and chairmen who need a quorum and an agreement and majority and so on. Malcolm Jones committed the population of Trinidad and Tobago with 2 projects, the World GTL and another Infotech one, to the tune of $13 billion at varying interest rates. And he burdened Petrotrin with a debt burden that strangled it. That was PNM decision, PNM mismanagement, PNM corruption. Petrotrin under Kevin Ramnarine and Kamala Prasad took daily production of oil from 48,000 barrels a day up to 97,000 barrels a day. Petrotrin was paying its taxes on time under Kamala Prasad. Petrotrin was creating and making over 400 million US, $2.2 billion in foreign exchange reserves for the country. Rowley shut down Petrotrain, sent home 5,364 monthly paid permanent workers and 6,120 daily paid workers through the Southwest Peninsula into a state of decimation and decay that spin-off industries, caterers, restaurants, bars, hairdressers, nail techs, all closed down because of the shutdown of the refinery at Petrotrain, which 5 years on remains shut, and Trinidad and Tobago are now pariahs on the world scale. All we do is suck blood out of the world economy, utilizing our foreign exchange to buy things. We make nothing under the PNM. We produce nothing under the PNM. Things we produced since 1908, they are now shut down and gone. The PNM is deleterious to the good movement of Trinidad and Tobago forward, to the unity, to the progress, to the intelligence. Right now we are suffering from the worst brain drain, Lennox Smith, in the history of our country. Any child who has the opportunity to go to university abroad, whether Europe, Canada, or the USA, they are not coming back. They are staying away in droves to build other people's countries. Our best and our brightest are running from here in droves. You just saw in C3 Mall, a company said, hey, we might have opportunities for jobs in Guyana. And hundreds of our brightest young people flocked there to line up just for the possibility of getting a job. Yet called him, but, and Tim Gopi Singh dealt with him brilliantly. He told the president of the Senate, but president, the man so short, I didn't even know he stand up on a standing order. Tim Gopi Singh nailed them to the cross and showed that in the health sector, the education sector, the PNM has sucked the blood out of Trinidad and Tobago, taking money out of the coffers to give themselves their recusal twins in the cabinet, their friends and financiers. They have weaned the population off of their own money and put it in their own pockets. And this was shown by the decimation of the UNC of this budget of nonsense, this budget of lies, this budget of playing with statistics. Imagine the PNM says that we are at 3.7% unemployment. Anyone who studied at the basic economic theory would know that 3.7% means you're at full employment, because there will always be certain sectors, certain people in the society who are unemployable, and therefore you do not go down to zero to mean full employment. Anywhere around 4%, 3.5 to 4% is considered full employment. Well, let me ask you this, people, if the PNM not lying, if they're telling the truth, that we are at full employment, and anyone who wants a job can get a job, then how come when they advertise prison officers, you have over 7, 8, 9,000 children running with the envelope, running with the resume, running with their subjects to go and apply to work in a prison? Now think about that. Working in a prison is a special kind of vocation. It takes a special kind of person to want to go and do that dangerous job. It is a dangerous job. It is a job that all day you are in the worst conditions. You are in a prison that, you know, your life is under threat every day. You have to deal with some of the harshest, most violent people on the Twin Islands. You are in bad circumstances, no air condition, no safety, threats to your family. Yet thousands of children, male and female, running to apply for prison work when they offer work on cruise ship. Cruise ship is considered modern day slavery, Lennox Smith. I don't ever want to back up work, because work is work is work, but cruise ship work is a dog work. It's a hard work. People will be locked up in cabin and they can't breathe inside the cabin. They have to work 24/7. Their money, their taxes come out from the US and so on. They go out, they can't see their family, they're outside for long periods. You're suffering from mental stress and so on. These, when they applied, when there was the opportunity for this hard, difficult work, you saw crowds and droves, thousands of citizens running to apply. Yet the PNM come with a straight face to tell you the country is at full employment, level of employment. The PNM is dishonest. Remember, this pathological. Rowley is a disgrace. Rowley has this country in a total complete mess. The call member talks on a budget for 4 hours and 7 minutes. And nothing on crime. No new plan. No new process. No new equipment. Nothing to give people hope. And everywhere in this country, blood is flowing like water in flood. And as I talk about flood, 22 minutes rain in Port of Spain and Wrightson Road, you need a canoe. Down by City Gate, 18 minutes and you flood. And they are trying to talk about climate change. It had nothing to do with climate change. It had to do with lack of planning, lack of maintenance, lack of box drain, lack of desilting the river mouth, lack of implementation of strategies to prevent and mitigate against flooding. The PNM has decimated every sector. The energy sector is at the lowest ebb ever. Point Visas is operating at 28%. Over 12 companies have shut down. There is no hope. There is no gas. We are using our proven reserves of gas, and the bid rounds done by Stuart Smallpin Young have brought nothing to the table. So they put all their hopes on dragon gas in Venezuela. But therein lies another problem, Lennox Smith.
Where's the next problem with that now? Yeah, let me hear.
Here the problem with that now. Venezuela and Maduro are now attacking frontally the sovereign nation of Guyana, a member of the CARICOM. Maduro has put on the ballot for December 3rd a referendum purporting to go to the people to say that the Essequibo Basin, which forms approximately 62% of Guyana, where you would all know they're finding lots of oil and gas all over the place. Maduro, Rowley's friend, Smallpin friend, the PNM friend, is trying to set the stage to take Guyana's sovereign territory, whether by force, by army, by war. They threatened violence, they threatened strong-arm tactics yesterday. The Venezuelan government, the Bolivarian government of Venezuela said that President Irfan Ali and the Guyanese government, who are trying to protect their sovereign rights and their national borders, that their statement was one of basically an act of defiance and an act of war. Yet we have heard nothing from Keith Christopher Rowley on what is Trinidad and Tobago's position with the aggressive stance being taken by Venezuela against our CARICOM brother and sister Guyana. Rowley is silent. Emery Brown is silent. And the PNM is silent, while Maduro is beginning to bully Guyana to steal their territory. What is Trinidad and Tobago's position on that serious foreign affairs matter?
You're very correct, Anil Roberts, because again, we are members of CARICOM. Ghana are a member of CARICOM. Trinidad and Tobago, I think Dr. Rowley was the chairman of CARICOM at some point. He was the headman, all them thing. He of all people supposed to say something based on this. What is Trinidad and Tobago's stance?
But clearly, and that is, the silence is deafening, because this is the most aggressive stance ever taken against a CARICOM territory in the history of CARICOM and sovereign nations and the independence of different nations in the CARICOM. Yet Keith Christopher Rowley, whether in tracksuit, in bikini, in golf clothes, or in tights, has said absolutely nothing. Could you believe that Venezuela Maduro has put for referendum. And Mr. Amar would like that because he loves referendum. They worded a statement that the people have to vote on to talk about taking Guyana territory away from Guyana, the Essequibo Basin, and putting it and claiming it as Venezuela's own. This is a very dangerous situation. This is a situation akin to Putin and Ukraine, where Putin said that Ukraine and that piece belongs to Russia and he's moving, and right now we're 2 years into war, over 8,000 people dead. Venezuela is doing the same thing towards Guyana, saying that that land that is the sovereign territory of the Republic of Guyana belongs to them. And Trinidad and Tobago, the neighbor of Guyana, CARICOM member, Rowley was chairman of CARICOM. Trinidad and Tobago has said nothing.
Boy. Like war in the making there, you know?
Well, I told you that he will be comprehensive, and no doubt we have gotten a head full, mouthful, and of course edification fill presentation. Anil, I just one issue. Do you think I saw Dr. Rowley sweating at the presentation or trying to convince himself, not the audience or the population, but himself, of the rectitude of the frustration of the OAS contract that caused the adjudicating panel in London to find Trinidad and Tobago in breach of the contract and now have to pay $1 billion plus back to OAS, among others. Do you think that he was attempting to relieve some of his pressure, and that there must have been, in my personal view, of course you may not want to share it, internal pressures from within what I consider to be the salvation team within the PNM, forcing him to call an early election? I mean, I've put in the last part in my own speculation, but yes. What is your view?
Well, let me tell you first and foremost, Lennox, and to the ground report. Keith Christopher Rowley is a pathologically dishonest human being. Whether you go back to Land 8, Renaissance, the towers that went up in the sky because of Rahal, Greenvale, and all the HDC projects that he did with Noel Garcia, Las Alturas, with Andre Montai and Faris Al-Rawi and a tight pants and a cat suit on the board. All of the projects that he did illegally without approvals, or his email gate lies, his Delcy gate lies, his Nelson gate lies, his police service commission lies. Keith Christopher Rowley is a pathological liar, first of all. Secondly, once you know that when you open him out, he lies. So when you're talking about the arbitration, the $1 billion, you know what that is? That is not taxpayers' money, that is nothing. Keith Christopher Rowley and his government wanted to get this contractor OAS out of the contract, and they chose to go about it by starving them of resources and starving them of money. You know, if you have no money to do a contract, you can't pay workers, you can't get materials, you can't buy diesel for your bulldozer and so on. Rowley and them did that, and then they went to take the bonds that the UNC had there for performance. OAS had to put $1 billion in a bank to ensure that if anything went wrong, the government and the people of Trinidad and Tobago could take that money in furtherance of the contract or any lack of performance therein. Rowley and them went and take OAS money. The OAS complained. It went to arbitration, and the arbiter said, you, PNM, you have to give back OAS the money. That is the $1 billion, number one. Number two, it was the PNM who chose OAS. Let me repeat. It was the PNM Who chose the contractor? OAS. There was a tender procedure, and you would know for such a big contract, the tender documents and so on to fill out will take 6-8 months. They are so detailed, engineering designs and so on, pricing for a $5 billion project and so on. They are thick documents. They were assessed by the PNM in 2010. On the 25th of May 2010, NIDCO, who was in charge of NIDCO? The election was the 24th. Kamla Prasad Bisesa was sworn in on the 26th. No board members of the UNC or the partnership were appointed till July of 2010. NIDCO wrote a letter to OAS and other contractors, subcontractors, telling them, congratulations, you have won the tender. So that scuttles any sort of impropriety and any sort of mens rea that Rowley would like to ascribe to the People's Partnership. They selected the contractor. They went through the long tendering process. The UNC could not come in and just scuttle a tender and say, we don't agree with that. That's what the PNM does. Because when you scuttle tenders, that is akin to corruption. That is a red flag. So like you see with the Sea Bridge, about 3 occasions the PNM scuttled tender because they didn't like who win. You saw with CCTV camera, they scuttled tender because they didn't like who win. When Iowa George bid on them both that Coleman but by that never failed, and over $100 million of taxpayers' money was wasted. They didn't want to give Iowa George the contract, so they scuttled it. The central tenders block after Shanghai Construction left. They scuttled tender. That's what PNM does, because in awarding contracts and scuttling tenders, that's how they build Balizé House through kickbacks. So, the long and the short is, the UNC and the People's Partnership was moving forward with a .14 highway and getting it done. The bonds were there. The contract was being implemented. The PNM and Rowley is lying and calling corruption. But as Jayanti Lasmidiyal said, if you're calling corruption, you call a commission of inquiry. It is Saturday. It is start. But you spend $11.4 million already. If you want to prove UNC corrupt, shouldn't you call the Commission of Inquiry, get the facts, get the documents? They don't want it to start because it will show that it was the PNM that tendered out for the project, the PNM that evaluated the tender, the PNM that awarded the contract to OAS, the PNM that came back in and grabbed OAS bonds, and OAS took the PNM took arbitration and beat the PNM, and now the PNM must return OAS money. You understand? The PNM must go. The PNM is corrupt. The PNM is bereft of ideas. The PNM and Rowley are damaging our country, and they must be removed now, or we will forever hold our peace. Yeah, but Anil,
before you go, you know, Dr. Rowley and the PNM really put it across this OS thing, because we call Coleman Burt and them talking about this $1 billion bond, and they put it across like, look what we save, Trinidad and Tobago, look what we save all the money, $1 billion OS would have get away with. But that is not we money that you are confirming there. You are saying that $1 billion
OS money.
What the hell is
that
this?
OS money. That when the UNC was there and Carson Charles, just with any big contract, you sit down and you negotiate the contract word clause by clause, and you tell the contractor you must put performance bonds in this bank, you must deposit it for performance on this part, for performance on design, for mitigation of poor construction, and they must leave that money there that could be drawn down upon on a scientific basis, an argument basis, a factual basis by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. That money was there. And the PNM decided to starve OAS, to try and fire them. Don't give them no money, don't pay no bills, don't let ACOM, the consultants, approve any funding. And then they went and take the people money.
So they take the people
PNM
money?
went and take $1 billion of OAS money.
Oh
and OAS said, but fire burn all you. We go into arbitration. And the arbiter said, give back OAS the $1 billion, Rowley. Why you take the people money, Rowley? Give them back.
Wow, understood. Thank you so much, Senator Anil Roberts, man. Thank you so much. I'll call you after the
program. We'll be in touch. We'll be in touch. Thanks very much for that comprehensive presentation and understanding of the multiple issues.